You want your marriage to scale with your investments. Then intentionally invest in your marriage the same way you do in investment deals.
Welcome to the Physicians and Properties Podcast, the show where we teach you how investing in real estate can give you the freedom to practice medicine and live life how you want.
Doctor!
Now, here's your host, Dr. Alex Schlo.
You can replace a property manager, you can swap lenders, you can find another contractor, coach, or capital partner, but the one person who is irreplaceable in your life and business is your spouse. And yet, most of us invest more time searching Bitcoin than we do aligning on our vision of freedom with the person that we say we're doing it all for. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Physicians and Properties Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Alex Schlo. Today's topic is different. We're not talking about real estate markets, debt structure, or the latest tax saving strategy. Today, we're talking about the most important thing, your real foundation, your marriage. If you're married, I'd argue that your spouse is the most important investment partner you will ever have. Because when your relationship is strong, aligned, and intentional, everything else, your career, your real estate business, your family, compounds with it. But when that relationship is strained or disconnected, it doesn't matter how many doors you own or how much passive income you're pulling in. So today, I want us to help recenter on the most important partnership we will ever have. Guys, being a physician is hard. Long hours, pager interruptions, missed dinner, missed sporting events, emotional fatigue. And then on top of that, we're trying to build real estate portfolios, businesses, and a brighter future for our family. If your spouse is not in alignment with that mission, it can create some subtle tension. Resentment can creep in, fatigue can double, and doubt sets in. This can lead to even worsened burnout. But if your spouse is aligned, they become your emotional anchor after those brutal shifts. They encourage you when you're tempted to just take one more call shift for the money. They support you in choosing meaningful medicine, not just financially lucrative positions. When your marriage is a true partnership, you are not doing it all alone. You don't have to carry everything. You start to co-create a life that you both love. I've had sessions where I've been burning the candle at both ends, medicine, investing, family. And it was Stephanie's support and love that reminded me why we were doing it all in the first place. She didn't just tolerate my ambition and my goals. She helped me shape them. And she made sure that that stayed rooted in our shared values, rooted in what matters most. Burnout doesn't come from working hard. It comes from feeling alone while you do it. So let's shift into the investing side of the equation. If you look at the most successful real estate entrepreneurs, there's a common thread. Behind the scenes, it is a deeply aligned partnership. And let's look at a few well-known examples. Look at Brandon and Heather Turner. Every quarter, they take videos together, just the two of them. They map out where they're going in life and not just in business. That practice has shaped everything from the Better Life podcast to Open Door Capital. The main takeaway here is they schedule intentional life design sessions. They take the time out of their busy schedule and their huge real estate portfolios and businesses to not just talk about money, to talk about what the money is for, to talk about the greater impact that they're going to make, to talk about how they can impact their kids' future going forward, and most importantly, how they can be better parents to their kids. Let's look at Pace and Laura Morby. Pace is the face. He's the creative finance machine. But Laura, she's the systems operator. She's the branding queen, and she holds the infrastructure together. The main takeaway from Pace and Laura Morby is they divide roles based on strengths. There's no sidelines in a power couple. There's just different lanes, and that partnership can help you grow exponentially more than you could do on your own. All right, let's talk about Alex and Layla Hormozi. I love Alex Hormozi and everything that he puts out there. If you're not listening to Alex Hormozi in the Game podcast, it is incredible. But Alex and Layla, before they built a $100 million business, they built alignment. They locked in on their core values, freedom, excellence, service, before picking asset classes or business models. And they've done an absolutely amazing job building an incredible portfolio, being aligned and agreeing on values. So it's important to agree on your shared values before you pick which investment vehicle you want to go down. So I want you to ask yourself, does your spouse know your investing goals? Have you clearly defined roles? Does your spouse feel like they're part of the mission or just collateral damage? Because when you and your spouse align on vision and values, the deals come easier, the wins feel richer, and the why becomes obvious. And this doesn't necessarily mean that you guys have to be partnered on every real estate transaction and you have to bring them in and walk through every deal together. To be honest, Stephanie does not love residential assisted living in regards to she needs to know every single detail, but she likes being involved. She likes being updated, but to her, it doesn't matter necessarily. And she trusts me at this point. She trusts that I know what I'm doing, that I'm going to be a good steward of our money and our resources. And that is because we have a shared vision and shared values. We know what we want for our family in 1 year, in 3 years, in 5 years, and that's really important. So I'm going to be honest. I've seen it happen multiple times where a physician or an entrepreneur builds a killer portfolio. They're making 6 figures in cash flow. They have everything on paper, but their marriage is quietly deteriorating. No one wakes up and says, you know what I want to do? I want to build a real estate empire alone while my marriage crumbles. But that's exactly what can happen if we prioritize spreadsheets over our soulmates. And it's usually not because of a conflict. It's because of disconnection. If your spouse feels left out, they'll disengage. If they feel like your dream is running over their dream, resentment may grow. But if they feel included, valued, connected, and essential, you'll start to pull them in the same direction with exponential power. So don't just ask, can I afford this deal? Ask, is this deal moving us closer towards the life that we both want? So let's talk about 3 practical frameworks to strengthen the link between marriage and money. And some of these we are still working on here in the Cijǒ household. So one of those is an alignment meeting. Sometimes that's weekly, sometimes it's nightly. We'll talk about the weekly alignment meeting, which is just 20 to 30 minutes once a week. Sit down, review family calendars, review your finances, investments, big decisions, and always end with this. What is one thing you appreciated about your partner this week? This isn't a budget meeting, it's a relationship reset, and this can be really helpful. Or this may look like a 6-minute meeting every night. You're meeting for 6 minutes, you're reviewing these same things, and you're ending with something that you feel appreciated. You're going to miss these days, you're going to miss these nights, you're going to miss these weekly meetings, but if you try and make it a priority, it can be really beneficial to help strengthen your marriage and your partnership. We love the quarterly marriage review. This is something that's really shaped our marriage. Every quarter, Stephanie and I try to spend one evening, usually a date night or even just a couple of hours at home, doing a marriage and a life check-in. We ask each other, how did I do as a spouse over this last time period? How was I as a parent? Was I a good husband? Was I a good friend? We're honest with each other. And sometimes this feedback is hard, but it's always delivered with grace, support, and encouragement. We don't use this time to criticize or nitpick each other. We use it to try and grow together. And we know that this check-in is valuable. We don't shy away from being direct, but we always end with love, and we always leave that conversation stronger and more unified. You want your marriage to scale with your investments. Then intentionally invest in your marriage the same way you do in investment deals. That's what's most important. Not everyone in a marriage needs to love spreadsheets or touring properties. Maybe you're the investor and your spouse is the home base. They're that foundation. Or maybe you both want to be involved in different ways. The important thing is figure out what you love, define the lanes, and honor those contributions. We're trying to work on creating a life matrix that may have different columns like finances, health, kids, investing, family, faith, and figure out who wants to kind of take over those roles, because clear roles can create peace and undefined roles can take pressure. And that may just be kind of just dividing up the calendar or figuring out how that is going to be laid out. So here's some final thoughts and a challenge for this week. Sometime in the next 7 days, I want you to sit down with your spouse and ask them these 3 questions. 1, what do we want our ideal week to look like 5 years from now? 2, what's one thing I can do to be a better partner? 3, what's something we can start or stop doing together? Because your spouse is your greatest leverage. They are the greatest partnership that you will ever have. And when that relationship is strong, your investments will grow, your career will flourish, you'll take better care of patients, and your kids are going to thrive. That is the real return on investment that is ultimately going to lead to an incredible return on happiness and fulfillment. So thank you for joining me today on this episode of Physicians and Properties. If this episode resonated with you, do me a favor and share it with your spouse. Let's start the conversation. If you found this helpful, can you leave me a 5-star review and tag me on Instagram or send me a message? I'd love to hear how you're building not just wealth, but a life you love with the one that you love. Hey, real quick, if you're still listening to this, I'm assuming you got value from it. So I need your help specifically. My 2-year vision with this podcast is to help 100,000 physicians learn how investing in real estate can give you the freedom to practice medicine and live life how you want. There are 2 main ways that a podcast grows. One is through ratings and reviews, and the other is word of mouth. If you can please leave me a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, as well as send this to 1 to 2 friends that you think would get value from it, we can reach the physicians that we want to reach. Thanks in advance, and talk to you on the next episode. Please note that the information shared on this podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be considered financial, medical advice. The views expressed on this podcast are those of the host and the guest and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Department of Defense or the United States Air Force.